Okay, so I have just launched the same machine, Ansible machine. I'm logging into that box now. So I'm going to generate the key. So rather than generating the key, I use the existing key that is already available. It is not there. So I'll generate one. I got the key here. I'm going to use the same Ansible machine's public key. And then I'm going to import it here. So the key is imported here. So now I am going to spin up more machines. So let me take the different machine now. So I have taken this Amazon Linux one. I'm going to use the Ansible key here so that I don't need to reset the password all the time. So I acknowledge this. So I got that one. So now I'm going to spin up one more machine. This time I'm going to use a Red Hat one. Same Ansible machine, Ansible key. So this is going to be AWS machine. And this will be my RHEL box. I will also spin up one more machine. This time I'm going to take the Ubuntu one. I take the Ubuntu server. So let's check Ubuntu. We haven't done anything right for the before. So it gives me 80 GB. Launch, I use Ansible key. So now I have three machines. So one is AWS, one is RHEL, one is Ubuntu. So now we have three different machines coming up. So we are going to run, because when you join the company, you may be having like multi OS operating systems. Some people may use Ubuntu, some people may use RHEL, some systems may have CentOS. Of course, CentOS is gone now. So you may be having some other system. So how we are going to tackle this with what one Ansible? Okay, that we are going to show today. So it is still coming up. So yes, this is good. So now I'm going to take my instances private IPs. So we have all our scripts here. So I'm going to edit my host section. So currently we have like this web servers and the Jenkins agents. Ansible host. But this is going to be our AWS machine. Now second one is RHEL, because mostly whatever AWS kernel it uses, we have similar kernel being used for Linux as well, I mean Red Hat as well. So we would be having the same commands running for both operating system. That's why I'm going to put them in a single group. So this is good. And then this is the RHEL machine. This is the RHEL. So we can also provide Ansible underscore user here itself. Okay, I will maybe discuss this later. So this is Jenkins agent. So I'm going to take this thing as Ubuntu, and the Ansible host is this. Okay. So now what we have done, so we have taken web servers and we have taken Jenkins agents to group. inside web server, I have added our two agents that are AWS and RHEL, and Jenkins agent section, I have added the Ubuntu IP address. Okay, I'm saving it. I'm going to run our existing playbook. So we have this HTTPD YAML, right? So we discussed this. So we are going to run this against web servers, installing HTTPD software. So maybe I'll write the new one. So let's write the new one. Okay. So I'm going to take sample.yaml file. Okay. So first thing what we need to do, so we need to write the name of the playbook. Okay. So installing Vim software. Okay. And then hosts, I'm going to run on all servers. Okay. Not only separate section. So I need to become a true here. And then tasks. So what is my first tasks? So first I am going to install it. Install link httpd, Vim software. So what is the command? We need to use a yum module, right? Yum module and the name. What is the name of it? Vim. Name is Vim, and then state is present. Okay, this is our basic simple yum module. Now I'm saving it. Now let's run this. What happens? Okay, so this is YAML playbook. Just check it. I'm installing Vim software, and this is the yum instructions. Okay, so now let me go ahead and run the playbook and see what happens. So the command is Ansible playbook minus I use these hosts. Okay, and this YAML file, and the user is going to be ec2 underscore user. We don't need to provide minus k parameter because we are using keys now. Now let's hit the enter and see what happens. Do you see what's happening there? So installing Vim software. So fatal for a Ubuntu server. So what happened? Failed to connect to the host via SSH. The reason Ubuntu, unreachable. So this machine is not reachable because the Ubuntu, whenever you spin up the Ubuntu machine, it doesn't provide you the EC2 user as a default one. The default user is Ubuntu. So in Red Hat and RHEL machines, RHEL machines and AWS machines, the default user is EC2. But for Ubuntu, it is different. So if I show you the AWS one, and if I click on the connect, this will give me the user EC2 user, right? If I search client. So if I go back to same Ubuntu, where is our Ubuntu here, and I click on the connect, this uses Ubuntu user, not the EC2 user. So now how am I going to manage this? I have three servers. So one server uses Ubuntu user and remaining two servers uses a different name. So how can I tackle this? To tackle this, it is very simple. We need to edit the host section, or we need to use the group vars, the inventories vars. But we don't go in depth that much. So I'm going to add here. So Ansible underscore user is equal to Ubuntu, not the EC2 user. But here also we can add this Ansible user is equal to EC2 user. Same thing here, Ansible underscore user is equal to EC2 user. I saved it. Now let me rerun it again. See, now Ubuntu said okay because it is able to connect successfully. Okay, so technically the Ubuntu should not support the Vim. The yum. Maybe the Ansible is now supporting. Let me see. Let me try to install one more software. Name. installing HTTPD software. Yum. Now let me run it. I'm installing again. No, I don't need to provide the EC2 user now. I just run it as it is. Installing Vim software is there. Installing HTTPD. See, now it failed. But these two went fine. Why? Can they tell me?
Yes, because Ubuntu does not support YUM. It has to be apt-get.
Right. Because Ubuntu package manager is apt-get, not the yum. So yum is a rel package manager, so which will help you to resolve all the required dependencies and then install it. So since these two kernel supports that, it was able to install, but not this guy. So we need to use apt-get somehow. Somehow here it looks like Ansible is now supporting, even though you use yum for the Ubuntu machines, it is able to install it. You see here, so it is able to verify. So there may be some logic in behind they have written, but past we have to write a separate step, separate condition to make sure that this is actually a Ubuntu machine, and you write a different command for that. Okay, so now how I'm going to tackle this? So here, so installing HTTPD software. Here I am going to use the when condition. What is the when condition? It's like a if statements. So we have seen if in a bash script, right? So if this, do this. If not, don't do that, right? The same way, the Ansible way of mentioning condition is when. Okay, so when. So now here I'm writing when Ansible OS family. This is a variable that is called a fact variable that comes whenever Ansible runs. It generates some variables. So maybe let me show you that variable first. Now I wanted to differentiate which machine is Ubuntu and which machine is RHEL. Since I edited the inventory, I know. But in a future, you may be having some hundreds of machines, and the IPs and the machines may be dynamic. They're not static. So they maybe keep changing. So you don't have a keep track of all those, right? So now how we are going to tackle that? Okay, so I'm going to write a simple YAML file here, generating facts, uh, hosts, all. Become is not required. We're not going to become the true here. And then tasks, name, running a setup module, setup. I'm going to register this. Oh, register means this output. So let me just run this and see what happens. Do we even have the setup module? So this is how we need to use. This is -m. So this is going along with the Ansible commands, not with the Ansible playbook, but let me try to use it within a playbook. So Ansible playbook -i host var.yaml. Yeah, it is working. So it was able to run the setup module. So now I am going to register the output. So the output, the way of registering is register. This is how we are going to take the output of this module into a variable. So I am taking a word called register and I'm storing that output in a variable called output. Okay. Now I need to print that, right? So how can I print? Again, I need to take one more task here, printing the variable value. Okay, to do that, we need to use a module called debug. So debug is a module which will help you to print the variables. So Ansible doesn't print the standard out to your console. If we want to print that, we need to use a debug statement, or we need to run our Ansible in a verbose mode. Okay, but I'm just printing it here. So debug has the message. The debug has a parameter called var, and I'm just going to print the variable. So debug is a module and it has a var parameter, and I'm passing the variable that I have stored here. I'm just printing this. So now let me save this and run our playbook. See, it printed our output. So what are all these? These are all called facts. Facts of your target machine, right? So let's read and understand what's happening here. So I'm going to pick one machine here. Oh man, so big. Okay. So I'm going to pick the Ubuntu machine. Okay. I copied this. Saved here. This is the JSON file. See, this is a facts. So facts of your target machine. Okay. So whenever you run Ansible, the Ansible will first gather this information, right? So what are the facts? So facts mean this is the IP address of the target machine. This is the IPv6 address. Okay. And then what is the Ansible architecture? It is a 64-bit, 32-bit. And then BIOS date. What is the BIOS date? BIOS version? And then this supports about Ansible commands. Now Ansible date time. So what is the date of the target? Currently what date is showing there. Okay. And then Ansible default IPv4. So which are the default IPs that it can connect. Okay. And then here is the important stuff. So there are so many stuffs about your target. Loop one, loop two, everything. So if you come down, see Ansible distribution. So Ansible distribution has Ubuntu. Okay, so if I run the same variable facts for the RHEL machine, the Ansible distribution gives me RHEL. For AWS, for Amazon Linux, is Amazon Linux. So this is the variable that talks about what type of target machine it is. Okay, it says Ubuntu, Ansible distribution. So there will be Ansible OS family as well. Ansible OS family, yeah. So you also have Ansible OS family. So what is operating system family is? So you can use Ansible distribution or you can use Ansible OS family. So if you use Ansible OS family for Ubuntu, you would be having a Debian operating systems family. Okay, so this is our Ansible OS family details. So now I am going to run the same playbook. Okay, and look for another stuff. Can I search here? Yeah. So for Red Hat, it is giving me Red Hat. Okay. For again, it's giving me Red Hat, Debian. So it means Amazon Linux is also giving me the Red Hat Ansible OS family as a Red Hat only. So now I have one common place, Ansible OS family. Whenever it has Debian, it means it is a Ubuntu machine. Wherever it has Red Hat, it means either Red Hat or Amazon Linux machine, right? So based on that, I'm going to write the when conditions here. So I'll go back and edit our sample.yaml file. So here, Ansible OS family is equal to Red Hat. Now I need to write the same task for Ubuntu as well, right? So name installing HTTPD software. This is apt-get, not the yum. Okay, so if you want to see the module here, so we can see the module here. Ansible app module. See, same. This is for the Ubuntu's. Apt, name, and state. Okay, so install Apache HTTPD. So for HTTPD, so we need to use Apache 2 for Ubuntu, not the HTTPD version. Okay, I'm going to use the same thing. Apt name, which is going to be Apache 2. State will be present. Okay, so in Ubuntu, you name HTTPD software as Apache 2, whereas Red Hat, you just name it as a HTTPD. Okay, now I need to use the condition when Ansible OS family is equal to Debian. That's it. So now what happens? Your Ansible will come here. It reads all the hosts. Okay, it first does this installing Vim software. So somehow the Vim is being supported. Sorry, the Yum is being supported in both. Okay, apt Ubuntu machines and also Red Hat machines. Okay, now again it comes here, installing HTTPD software. It is trying to install HTTPD here. So now this task has a if condition, it's a when condition. So this will be first verified. So now we have three machines, right? So let's suppose this Ansible is working on first machine, which is AWS. Okay, it verifies this task for AWS machine. It reads the target facts. The target facts Ansible OS family is matching with Red Hat. If yes, then it will be run. Now again it comes down. So it verifies install this software. Okay, I'll install. This is apt. So it will first verify the when condition as a when condition. So now it verifies Ansible OS family is Debian. No. So this condition fails for AWS machine. So this task will not be executed because the condition has failed. Condition is not satisfied. That is how the conditions works here. The same works for the remaining machines like Ubuntu and the Red Hat machine. Okay. Now let me go ahead and save this. Oh, not the var file. Sorry. Sample one, right? See, you see skipping here and skipping for these two here because the condition is not satisfied. Now Ansible OS family will become Debian here. So this condition is not satisfied with Ubuntu. This guy skipped. But whereas this one, so these two got skipped because they are not Debian's family. These two machines are. This is how we actually differentiate between the environments and we run the corresponding tasks. Okay, so by now our script will work for multi-OS without any issues. So this is how we use the when conditions and multi-OS. Okay, so any doubts on this? We install the Ubuntu as well here. Any doubts? Oops, okay. So now let me.
Lokesh, Lokesh is supposed to
Uh-huh.
say Red Hat in AWS, right? So if you go for other like a Google Cloud, then the term might be different, or this is the same OS,
No, it will be same.
same Red Hat
Yeah,
only,
it will
right?
be same. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the DevOps references. So we are talking about Ansibles. I go to the playbook. So we verified these samples. Yeah, we covered this one. And we covered this one. We covered this one. Cloud Foundry CLI. So we know the get URL, right? We know get URL, shell, block. Yeah. So I'm doing get URL yum. shell command here. We'll run it. So now let me write one more for the sample one. I'm going to write the shell.yaml. Okay, same thing. Running a shell command. So hosts are going to be all. Become is not required to be true because I'm just running a small, and then I'm going to run my tasks. The first task is going to be running a simple shell command. So this is the shell block. So if you want to run a simple command, the shell command, so you have to use the module called shell. Okay, so you can also use command. The difference between shell and command is command will just run it, but shell will create a shell block and then run that command inside that. Okay, so now I am going to run this as it is and see what happens. Ansible playbook minus I hosts and then shell.yaml. Yep, it executed successfully, right? But do you see the output here? We did ls minus latr, right? It got ran. It ran fine, but we did not see the output. So Ansible doesn't show you the output. If you want to see the output, you need to run the Ansible in a verbose mode. So minus V. There is a verbose mode. Let's run. What do you see? See, so before, so let's look at the running a shell command. It just said changed, changed, changed. So now when I run one verbose mode in the running shell, oh, I use HTTPD. Sorry. So shell, I'm running with 1 minus V. See, the running shell is now shown me some more information. So what is that? It provided changed and also gave the complete output of that tasks. That is called the verbose mode. So it gave me ls minus l command output. So it created the directory Ubuntu, directory permissions, file name, everything. So this is we use for troubleshooting purpose. So generally, whenever something is not working, then we use more verbose, minus v, v, v. So this is less verbose, more verbose, more verbose, more verbose. The number of v increases, the number of log it will generate. We generally put minus 3 v's. So now it will give us all the information you see, including authentication. See if I go back first. So all the informations to connect the Ubuntu. So it is these many information about your targets. And then running the simple shell command. See, just a simple shell command has given me this much of verbose mode. So this we generally use it when we are troubleshooting. Okay, so now I wanted to see this output, right? But I'm getting all this unnecessary information which I don't want. So that is the reason why we use a debug mode. So whichever variable we wanted to print, we store it and then we print it. Okay, so now I open the same Vim shell. So first I need to take the output in a variable. So register is going to be, you can take anything. So my output, or you can also say results. Okay, so now I taken it. Now I need to print it, that variable. So again, to print the variable, we need to use a module called debug. Okay, so printing the variable, debug. So debug has two sections. It has two parameters, var and message. Okay, I'm going to use the first var, and var print the results variable. It is going to print me all the output of this command. So let me run it. I remove the minus v option. We don't need it now. See, it printed for me. This is the printing the variable. So this first for AWS one. So AWS one, it printed. This is the standard out lines. This is the ls minus latr output command. ls minus latr output commands. ls minus latr output command. So how it is stored? So you need to check Ubuntu. There is a results section. It's like a JSON. You need to travel to JSON. Results dot std out lines. So if you do that, you can only get this output. Okay, so let's go ahead and edit that. So I'll go back here, Vim shell. So results dot std out lines. So I get only what I needed, not all the other stuff. So that is how we debug anything. If you want to debug something, we do like this. Okay, so here we can also write so many stuff. Name, you want to check the date. What is the data of your target machine, right? So I need to check the date, the command. So I'm going to use the command module now. Command is date. Register the output in output variable and print that variable name in the output debug. So I'm going to use a message here. Message, you can write your own strings as well, right? So I'm going to start here quotation. The date in target machine is, and then I'm going to put the date. So in a variable, so whenever you are writing the variables in Ansible, it always goes in this two curly braces and two curly braces. Okay, now variable is output dot std out. Let's see what we get here. Okay. Sorry. I'm saving this and run. So you got the date in target machine is this. So this message, we have used the message section, right? That's why it's printed here. If you use var, it just prints directly what your variable contains. Okay, this is how we use our debug messages and that. So just to check the time of the target machine, you are running a big playbook, right? So technically, you don't need to write a playbook for that. You can directly run the command by using Ansible. So we have been using Ansible playbook, right? So playbook is you are going to keep all your tasks in one file and you run it. That is called the playbook. But now I'm just running only one command. For that, I can just use the Ansible. Okay, so how to do? Ansible minus E hosts. I want to run all minus a parameter. Minus a parameter will be used to run the command. So what command you want to run? I want to run the date and hit the enter. This will just print you date. See AWS machine date, rel machine date, Ubuntu machine date. So we use this Ansible command to just check something on the target. Let's suppose you want to check whether all the targets are working or not. You can just say ping. No, sorry, minus m ping. It's a module. See, it says all your target servers are working fine. So now the same thing. Now you wanted to check the output whether the file is available or not. Okay, so ls minus latr slash var slash www slash html. It just displays the content of the directory. So only Ubuntu has a index.html. but AWS is not, RHEL is not. To verify whether file is available or not, you have to again write a playbook as well. But to write the playbook and run it, it's a pain, right? So if you want to verify something quickly on the target machine, then you can also use this commands. Okay, so you can also pass -m here. -m will become the module. So you can also run one module on all the target machines by using Ansible command. But we don't generally recommend that. That's why I'm not teaching here. So -a, yes, you can use. So whenever you want to quickly verify something to run the command on a remote machine, you can use this. Okay, so even if you want to start a service, do the same thing, Ansible -i. So Ubuntu is good, right? So I'm going to start the Ubuntu machine. Okay, hosts. So do the Jenkins agent. So Ubuntu is categorized inside the Jenkins agents. Okay, -a parameter. The command is service. Sorry, Apache to start. You need sudo, I think, for that. Started. So Ubuntu has a service command to start any services. In RHEL, we mostly use systemctl. So this way you can also use Ansible. Okay. So if you want to run a specific command, so let me use the who am I Ubuntu user, right? Who am I means it's going to print the person. So you can also run as a different user. If I do become here and run it and see what happens. So become becomes a root. So it means when you log in to the box, you immediately switch yourself to root. So when you switch yourself to root, you are running this command. So who am I? You are running as a root, right? So it becomes a root. So this is how we use the Ansible. Okay. If you want to run any command with sudo, you just need to pass the become dash become. So that's about simple Ansible commands. So now we also have a block. So now I'm going to write a simple block statement here. The same. So I'm going to HTTPD YAML. This is what we have installed, right? So installing HTTPD software, installing Vim software, copying the index HTML, and starting the service. Okay. So these all belong to what? So these are all belong to your Red Hat family. So I can create a when condition for all these. So when do this Ansible OS family is equal to Red Hat. So even this one, right? Again, I need to use the when condition. So like this, I have to mention multiple, sorry, I need to write the multiple, right? For every task, I need to do the same thing, right? So rather than doing the multiple time, so you can keep all the set of tasks in one block and then put a when condition on top of that. So rather than I'm writing the when condition for every task, so what I'm going to do, I just take all the tasks here. So I have 4 tasks here, right? So I'm going to put them in a block. I'll probably so I copy this, not JSON, it will be a YAML. I have this, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a block here, okay? And I'm going to move all this one ahead. I'm writing a condition here when Ansible OS family is equal to Red Hat. So now what happens? So this entire from this block section, right? Sorry. Yeah. So exactly below. So this block section will be executed when this condition becomes true. So rather than I'm writing when condition for every task, I put all Red Hat related tasks in one block. Now what happens when the Ansible is executed? It first verifies this condition. If the Ansible family becomes Red Hat, the target machine is a Red Hat family, then the entire block will be run. So this. So when the Ansible playbook is running against Ubuntu, so it verifies the condition. The condition is not satisfied, so none of the tasks will be executed. So entire block will be skipped. This is how we use the block. We can also name this block as well, like this. So I'm naming the block Red Hat task. I open the block section and when condition here. Okay, now I'm going to write the same thing, block for Ubuntu. Block. We can write the name. I just say installing HTTPD is apt. Name is going to be Apache 2. State is going to be present. Right? Let's say only one task. Sorry. So on the block section, I'm going to write the when condition when Ansible OS family is equal to Debian. That's it. So now I have two blocks, one block and then second block. So this block will be run when this becomes true, and this block will be run when this becomes true. So this is how you group the tasks. So now I'm going to run this. Copy this guy. Okay, I've saved this. Now let me run this. Ansible playbook -I hosts HTTPD YAML. Gathering facts. Oh, I have used only here web servers. That's the reason why it is not running the HTTPD. So the block has satisfied and it ran, but this guy skipped because this is not the Debian's family, right? These are all the Red Hat families. So that's why this family skipped. See, pretty. So maybe to make you guys, I'll run this in all, not just that servers. And I'm going to create installing Apache 2 so that we can see the difference. Okay. See, the tasks are skipping here for Ubuntu. But here it ran, but skipped for these two. This is how we use the blocks. Okay. So now let me verify quickly. So we have seen the blocks, everything. And then conditions, register output and the condition we have seen this. Condition block debug, yeah, this also we have seen this. Handlers. Okay, so what are the handlers? So handlers are important. So handlers are a feature in the Ansible, so that gets run after completion of your playbook. So let's suppose I run the playbook. So I have a 20 tasks. Okay. Out of 20 tasks, the task that need to be run after completion of all those can be written in a handlers. Okay. So now I'm going to use the simply, I'll rewrite the package again. Maybe I use a new one here. Name checking for the handler. Okay. So now I need to hosts. I need to take all become is going to be true and then tasks. So the first task I'm going to write is installing, let's say install the Jenkins. Okay, so we want to do that, right? So installing maybe HTTPD. We'll run in a different server, okay? For rel. Okay, task is this, and then yum, name going to be HTTPD. Is going to be present. Okay, so now I need to perform. So we just did that. So right now I'm going to copy the task file. Okay, so HTML file. Copy. Source is going to be index.html and the destination is going to be this, right? Now the next task we have seen this, we need to start the service, right? So the start the service, we can write a separate tasks, or we can also write the notify here. We call notify. So going to be start the service. So you can take one random name, notify start the service, right? So even here, notify start the service. Now I'm going to write the handlers here. So inside the tasks, the way we have tasks, right? There is a section, another section called handlers. Handlers, okay? The first handler should match with what you have given here, okay? This. So what is the task you need to do? You need to do the service. Name is going to be HTTPD. State is going to be running. So now what happens here is, so this task will start running first. It will install these two. So if it sees the changed, it means if the HTTPD is installed now, then this will notify this guy. So whenever this task becomes changed as true, then this will be notified. It's like notification. So whenever some change happen, you want to inform someone, right? The same way here. Even with this. So if the index.html got copied, then it is going to inform this guy. Then this guy will take the instructions and do these tasks. So we could, you may say, so we could technically write the same section as a task. But the reason why we put it inside the handler is this handler is not required to be run all the time. So this is needed only when this HTTPD is not there and you have installed it, right? And when this copy file is not there, you have installed it. Now I save this. I'll show you probably when you see, you will come to know. I'm going to run this only for the web servers, only the Jenkins, I mean Red Hat family, not everything. Okay. So I'm going to run this Ansible playbook -I host handlers. It's gathering facts. Rel AWS got it. So you see the installing is there. Copy is there. So these two tasks did not make any change. They're all available. So they are all in desired state. So when they are in desired state, do you really want to inform, right? So nothing. That's why the handler did not run anything. Okay. So now I'm going to make changes to index.html. So from hello, I've just edited the index.html. The file which we have here is newer than what we have in the target machine. So now what happens? Ansible sees the difference between the file, right? And then it will copy the file. So the task gets executed. This task gets executed. So there is some changes happened, right? So now I am going to inform the handler, hey, I did do something. So now it is your responsibility to do your task. It is like notification. So now I'm going to run the same thing. What? Yeah, handlers. So now what happens? This is okay, okay. So now index.html become changed. You see, this becomes change, right? So now the copy task became true. So here it was okay. So it is already in a desired state. So it did not inform anyone. But here the file in the target machine was not in a desired state. So I did make some change. So that's why I am going to run this notify task. I'm going to inform this. So whenever you see notify, so this will directly go to the handler sections and it matches with the name. So whatever name you have, right, it should match here. So this task is matching. So this task will be executed. So what is this task? Service, name, HTTPD, and status is running. The state is not running. The state is actually started. I misspelled here. That's why this task got executed but failed because one of the reason is reloaded, restarted, or started. But it got running, which is the incorrect one. Got it? This is why we use a running handler. So remember, the handlers will always run after completion of your entire playbook. Okay, they are like to do later. That is what the handler is. Okay, you can also have multiple handlers. So you can also write as many handlers as you want, but you have to have a reason. So why we are using the handlers? The handler generally used for the starting the services. So for this HTTPD, you may be having so many things. So first thing that you need to install HTTPD, you need to configure index.html, you need to perform something, you need to perform something, you need to perform something. After those many tasks, you need to start the service. So that start service, you can put it here. So sometimes what happens? So if you're talking about Nginx, okay, so now you have made some changes to your website. Okay, so first thing is you install Nginx software, and then you provide your config file, and then you start it. Okay, so now you wanted to restart the Nginx servers only when it is installed for the first time or the config file is updated. So in both scenario, you have to restart the Nginx in order to see those changes. If you don't restart it, the new changes will not be considered, right? So in that case, you have to write the same notify task here. So if Nginx is installed, notify this for the first time. If the config file is not in the desired status, but it got updated, so again, I need to restart it. So I'm going to add the restart task in a handler. So like this, we use the handlers. This will be run at the end of the playbook. Remember, don't forget it's very important. People may ask in interview questions. So when do generally handlers run? Do they run immediately or after completion of the playbook? You say after completion of the playbook. Okay. Now let's see what happens. Okay. So now I'm going to do a mistake here and see whether this handler runs or not. I did a mistake here, small mistake. I'm going to copy this. I'm just emptying the handler book. Okay. I did a mistake here. There is no SR parameter in the copy. Now let's see what happens if I run it. Why Ubuntu? Did I make change? Web servers. Now let me say absent here. I wanted to impact the change. No, this is not the right one. Latest. It is not taking the effect. I wanted to show you if the handler runs, if the Ansible playbook fails or not. So let me do this. Yeah. See now what happens. This is the Ansible playbook. The first task I'm notifying. The second task I'm also notifying. The third task is failing. So this handler got the notification from here, from here. So it said, okay, so this is not invoked, but here it got invoked. So always true, got some change, right? So whenever you see the changed, the handler is ready to run. So this will be run after completion of the playbook. But the playbook got failed in middle. The playbook has failed in middle. So now what happens? Did it run the handler? No, it just printed. It just printed the details and did not run that task. It did not run this task. So if the Ansible playbook fails in between, if the previous tasks has provided the notification as true, then the handler is not running. So handler will only run when all the tasks you have specified completed successfully are skipped based on the condition, then the handler will run if it got invoked. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you here. I just added this task here. So shell bin true means it always true, it always changes. So whenever it sees change, it notified this guy. So this guy is ready to run now. But this guy has failed. Since it failed, it did not run. It said, no, I did not run it. So a handler did not run here. So that's what the handler. So handlers will only run after completion of your playbook, and you have to notify that. And the notification will only become true if there is a change in the task. Okay. The desired state is changed, then only the notify will run. That is what the notify is. So for the more, you can also verify here in the Ansible playbooks. So we have it here, HTTPD. So now what I'm doing here, whenever you install HTTPD, I'm restart HTTPD. So I'm sending to these two. No, this is the use this one first. Yeah. So whenever you have this HTTPD service, copy index file, then notify this guy, and then you are doing this, restarted. Okay, this is what we are doing handlers. So now there is one more type of handlers, so which you can use listen. So now you wanted to perform two tasks as a handlers. So whenever you enter HTTPD, I wanted to copy the file and start the process. So you want to perform, you want to notify two guys, because in Ansible you cannot mention the duplicates, right? Handler become duplicate tasks. That's why we use same here rather than matching it with name. So we are adding a listen and listen. So now what happens? This handler will be listening for this string. So whenever your playbook makes some changes, then it notify this guy, restart HTTPD. So whenever this guy notified HTTPD, so these two tasks are listening for this string. So whenever they see this is notified, then both tasks run one after one. This is another way of mentioning your handlers. So either you should match this string with a name. So if you want to give a different name, in that case, you need to use a listen. It should match with name or the listen, one of those. So that's about your handlers. So now we have include templates here, right? So templates again a bit of important. So do you guys have any doubts so far?
No.
No. So now we have been writing like this, right? So far. So where do you see? Sorry, here I deleted it, right? So now we have been doing like this, right? So we are using the when conditions to differentiate, right? To differentiate between the tasks, we have been doing this, and we have been using block. So rather than you writing one playbook with multiple stuff, then we can differentiate the playbooks. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to first, I'm create a folder called make directory test. I'm going inside the test. Okay, I don't have anything. I'm going to first write one YAML file here. Okay, name installing some software. Okay, so I'm going to take hosts as all, become is true. Now tasks. Okay, so first I'm going to write, okay, importing Red Hat tasks. Okay, import tasks, import tasks. So I'm going to give a file redhat.yaml when ansible underscore os underscore family is equal to Red Hat. Now one more task name importing Ubuntu tasks. Now import tasks. I'm going to create a file called debian.yaml when ansible os family is equal to Debian. So what I'm doing, I'm just doing another module called import task. So what it is going to do is, so now I'm going to write all Red Hat related tasks in Red Hat YAML file and all Ubuntu tasks in Debian.yaml file. So now this import task will import the task from this file whenever the target is a Red Hat family. Same as for the Ubuntu. So now this looks neat rather than we writing everything in one file using multiple when conditions and blocks and all, because currently we're just having only two tasks, right? So that's easy. But when you work for a company, you might be having close to 10 tasks, 20 tasks that will differentiate between the environments. This is the neat and best way to differentiate your tasks based on the environment. You may also have the same task for the Windows as well, right? So now I have this, I'm closing this. So now I need to create my Red Hat task. So it should match with the name that you have given. So the name which I have given is this file name, right? So I'm going to create the same file name. I'm just going to write the task here, nothing else. Okay. Vim yum. Okay. So name is going to be this is how you install the multiple. So state is going to be present. And then how do you mention the packages? stdpd and then vim. So let me just quickly verify. I think this is how the yum syntax is for the multiple. Okay, so we use the packages. We need to use the vars and then packages. Okay. We can also mention like this, multiple names. Okay. I'm installing both. So as they said, so name mention like this, state present. So name present. And then one more task. Copying the index file. Copy source. Same. Service name is going to be httpd. State is going to be, let me do restart it. I want to do all the time. Okay. So this is the Red Hat tasks. That's it. So now I need to write the Debian tasks. Apache 2. It's going to be apt. Name is going to be Apache 2. State is going to be latest. The second task, copying the index file. Same. Copy. Source is going to be index.html. Destination is going to be same. It now start the service. Service is going to be Apache 2. State is going to be restarted. I'm going to restart all the time. That's it. See, so what we have done now. So we have taken a main.yaml file that has these instructions, right? So main.yaml file has these instructions. So now I'm going to write the Red Hat ones here. So Red Hat has these instructions. And then I have a Debian one. So Debian has these instructions. See, neat. So the main will contain only two tasks. So one task is import the task from this file. Whenever you see OS family is this. When you see this, import this file, and this file contain the task. So I just separated the task files, task in a one file. So Red Hat will run this, Ubuntu will run this. Isn't it easy? This is the neat way of separating the task based on the environment, based on the targets. Okay, so now I have got this. Now let me go ahead and run this. Okay, so where is my host file? My host file is in behind. So Ansible playbook -i // hosts file, and then which file I need to run? main.yaml file. See, first gathering facts, installing HTTPD and yum. So where it got skipped the Ubuntu, it has some exceptions. Copy in the index file has got some problem. The reason behind is we don't have the index file here, right? The index file is actually, if you go back here, we have the index file. So I need to again copy this and move it to the test. I go to the test folder. So now I have index file. So let me run it again. So if you want to see the error, let's see the error. So copying index.html, skipping for Ubuntu, that's fine. But what is the error? So if you are using module and expect this existing remote source, change file could not find access or index.html file. That is the
Lokesh,
reason.
just give me like index.html.
Mm-hmm.
So is it accessed like that? Instead of index.html, you just gave like THML.
I give THML.
Yeah, see task copying the index.
Oh, no, this is just
That's
like a
just name. We
this is
can
just
put
like a name. This is like a name. Whatever you want to put, you can put. You can put Sravya also here. It just gives a name. So whatever
Okay.
you are doing it here, right? It mentions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that this is the main problem. So here the source, right? The source is here, index.html. Okay, so
Okay.
this file is not available in the directory. So we copied it now. Okay, we copied it. So that's why it is there now.
Okay.
So now if I run it, it will run fine. So let's run it. See, it went fine. See, now let's read what happens. So first, gathered fact for all three machines, which is perfectly fine. Now installing HTTP and Vim. So skipped for Ubuntu because it is not this server is not matching, right? So it skipped all these tasks. And then now installing Apache 2. So which means this task. So this task exists in Debian file. So Debian file, this got become true because the OS family is Debian. So it did the everything. Okay, so let's go ahead and access it now. So we haven't accessed it, right? So I'm going here, instances. So this is my AWS. Let me open up the port. Add rule, HTTP on entire save rules. So this is done. So now I have Ubuntu, security. HTTP. Let me also add another rule, custom TCP 8080 as well. I think it runs on 80 only, but I'm adding this. So Ubuntu is done. The last machine which we have is RHEL. So we technically create all the same machines in one security group, but we created in a hurry. I did not choose the security group. So it created new one all the time. So now we have the groups ID. So let's go ahead and access our servers. So first AWS. So this is our website. I'm going to, it says open address. Okay, I'm copying this, paste this. This is our AWS one. Now let's access the another one. Where is this guy? Ubuntu. This is Ubuntu. And then we have final piece, the rel part. See, now we have 3 servers. AWS, Ubuntu, and rel. Perfect, right? So now, remember, so which one is belong to which server? Can you identify? Now let's suppose you don't know this. You're accessing your website and behind a load balancer. Okay, so now you wanted to see. So it's coming from which server? So you don't know, right? Because everything looks same. There is no change at all. So now I'm going to add the IP address. Okay, and let's see what is the IP address is going to be. Okay, so now I need to put the IP address. So I'll probably edit the index HTML. Index HTML. I am going to add some IP addresses here. So which IP address I need to add? I'll remove this. So this is the file. So I would say h2. This is my IP address. So what I need to run? I need to write the IP address of this, right? So I save this. So let me get the variable first. Ansible minus I hash dash hosts Jenkins agents minus M setup. So the IP address is stored in. Okay, so we have Ansible node name. So we can use this, right? So we can use the Ansible node name. Or do we have any Ansible public IP? Public name is Ansible FQD and Ansible host name is there. Yeah, there is no public in the search. Okay, so I can take Ansible host name at least. Ansible host name is there. Yeah, Ansible host name is giving me the IP address of this. So I'm going to use this variable and print it here. So I take index HTML. So my IP address is this. So for the variables, we need to mention 2 curly braces. I'm going to paste it here. So now what happens? So Ansible host name will be printed of our IP address. I am also adding one more header here, h2. Okay, so this belongs to family, and I am going to add Ansible underscore OS underscore family slash h2. So this is what I have taken. So now what happens? So whenever the index file, this file will be copied, and these two places, Ansible hostname and Ansible OS family, will be replaced with their corresponding target information. Now let's first use a copy module and run it and see what difference we change. If it doesn't work, we switch to different module. I'm saving this now. Okay. So now I'm running the same command again. So I'm installing the playbook. So copying got changed. Start the service, and Apache 2 also did. So now let me go ahead and verify our service. Oops, what happened? Is it giving us the names? Like it should be replaced with the IP address, right? And it should be replaced with our OS family, technically, because we are using variables, and the variables should be replaced, right? So here, whenever I use this thing, Ansible OS family, it identified as a Red Hat, and it only ran this task. When it becomes Debian, only ran this task. So this variable is working, right? Ansible OS family, Ansible OS family. There is no spelling mistake. But why it is not value getting updated?
One is YAML file and another one is HTML. Does it
Yeah,
work like that? No.
yeah. So that is the thing. So the thing what happened here, right? So whatever we are doing here, right? So whatever we are doing here, this becomes index HTML. It becomes a static file. So whatever content you have inside are become static, and the same file, exactly whatever you have, you are just copying it. You are not considering this file as a special file. So Ansible knows whenever you run the task, so whenever it sees the tasks or some certain playbooks, it identifies that, okay, Ansible OS family means it has a variable. So I need to replace this with the value. So it is replacing in the YAML file. But the same behavior is not happening with the index.html file, because we are treating this as a normal source file. Okay. So if this file has some specific features, like, so we are using now variables here, right? So if you want to have these variable replaced during the runtime, then we need to take some other module. So I go here. So rather than copy, I'm just changing this and taking a template. So now what happens? There is no difference between copy and template. The only main and major difference is whenever it sees the template, it identifies that the source is not a regular file. It has some unique features. So now what it happens? So this will read that file. This will read this file and then identifies, okay, Ansible hostname means, okay, so I need to replace this a variable. So I need to replace this with a value. I need to replace this with a value. So this will replace automatically when you use the template module. Copy will just copy as it is. Template will replace the contents according to special. Okay, so I made changes to only Red Hat. So Red Hat, I use template here. Okay, now let me check the Debian. So for the Debian, I'm still using the copy. Okay, now I'm running as it is, and let's see the difference. So I'm running as it is. Now the file has some changes that will be overwritten. So copy the index module is overwritten. Now for Ubuntu, it did not see any changes. Okay, so now let's go ahead and run it. So I restart this. Say I got now changed IP address and Red Hat. Now what about this? No changes because of the Ubuntu. Now let's talk about this. It's again Red Hat and IP address. See 145 and 215. 145, 215. But whereas Debian is not printing because we haven't changed the copy module to template module. So if I go ahead and change it to the template, this will also be restart, 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 refresh, 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 refresh. Come on, refresh, 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 refresh. But yeah, yeah, done. See, so this is how we use the template and the copy, the difference between. Okay, so technically, so whenever we use a template, okay, so now we see we are using template, right? Source is this. So templates will follow the Zinza model, Zinza 2. So that the whenever you see, whenever you differentiate a file is not a regular file, it is a template, then you have to give a proper naming convention. So now index HTML is not just a plain file, it is a .z2, Jinja 2. So Jinja is a module in a Python. So where it updates the variables or do some things during the runtime. Okay, so now since this file is not a plain file, so we need to give the extension .j2. This is Zinza 2. So again, now we have renamed the file. We need to edit the files here as well. The source is j2. This is the way. This is the reason. This is the way how we identify it easily. Okay, this is how we need to do that. So all the filing naming conventions, which are special files, we need to give the J2. These are all Jinja 2 files. That's why we give J2. Okay. That's what the templates. And let's see what else we have. Tags and the loops. Okay. So now let's talk about the tags. How are we going to use the tags? So it is done. So no changes. Right. So now let's talk about the tags. How are we going to use the tags? I come out. Okay. So do you guys need this folder?
No.
So you have seen it, right? So what we have done. So now what I'm going to do, you just need the import task. This is the only one. Import task and the task file name and the when condition. And you're going to write the task from the line. Only task. You don't need to mention again this name, host and all. Just only task. Only tasks. Starting from the first line. Okay. So now I'm going to write the tags. So what are we going to use the tags and why do we use it? So probably I'll take example of here only. Okay. So now this is the tags, right? This is the template. Now I have wanted to just restart the service. Tags, start, HTTPD. So what I'm doing, I'm just doing the tags here. So what does tags mean? So tags means you are going to give a nickname, like we have labels in Jenkins, right? So if you give a label to a Jenkins agent, that particular agent will be called for the Jenkins job run. The same way with the tags. So tags means you are giving a nickname to a task, to a task. So whenever you call, if you want to call this task only, then you can just use this label, and this label is assigned to only this task, and only this task will be run. This is like you are limiting something. Rather than you running the entire playbook, you just want to run one simple task and you are doing that. Okay, so I have used the Red Hat start the service and assign this tag. So I'm going to copy this tag. So make sure the tags should be same line as of this. Okay, I saved this. Now let me run the same command. Here, I just use the tags, and then what are the tags? These tags. Now only this will be run. See. See. Start the HTTPD, gather in the facts. It ran only start the service. This. No Ubuntu task, no Vim task, no HTTP task, no copy task. Because it specifically said to do only the task that has the tag as start HTTPD. So only that task got run. This is how we use the tags. So tags are very important. So if you wanted to, let's suppose you have automated Jenkins installation. So you just want to start the Jenkins service. So you don't need to do all the steps again and again, right? You just have a tags and you just call that particular tag and only that task will run. Clear? That's what the tags we use for. And then what else we have here? And the loops, yeah, loops also we use. So we were using with items before. So now we have replaced that with the loop function. Okay, so how do we use the loop function? So I'm coming back here. I'm writing a file called loop.yaml. Okay, so probably I'll write here so that you guys can. YAML file spaces are true. The first thing. So is the font visible, guys? You want me to make bigger? Is it
Visible.
properly visible?
It's good.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
good.
So loop example. I'm going to take the host section as all, and then become true is not required, and then tasks. Copying the file, copy function, source. Okay, so here I'm just going to use the item. Okay, destination, I wanted to copy them as a /tmp directory. Okay, so here I'm going to use a loop. Okay, and I just give the file names that I wanted to copy: abc.txt, element.txt, xyz.txt. So now what happens? So I wanted to copy 3 files: abc.txt, element.txt, xyz.txt. So the copy module I'm using source. I need to provide the source section, but here rather than giving the source section, I'm using a special variable called item. Okay, it's an item. So where I'm copying destination. This is the same syntax. There is no changes. The only thing added is a loop. So now the loop, what happens? Whenever this task is run, it runs 3 times. So whenever it runs, it first replaces this item with abc.txt. So it becomes copy source abc.txt destination/tmp. Again, next run element.txt. Again, source becomes element.txt and runs. Destination xyz.txt and then run same. No changes. So this is how we use the loop. Okay. So if you don't want to use a loop, then you need to write the same task 2 times. Copying file like this. Copy source abc.txt. Destination is going to be /tmp. Same module again and again. Like this. So first you use element here, and then you use a xyz here. There is no difference between this and the below 3. This is like a simple. See, it just becomes like how many lines? 4 to 11, 7 lines. But whereas here, these many lines. Same. So we're just using the loop here. I'm just deleting this. I'm just copying this guy. So I'll go back here. Save. Now I need to create the files, right? Touch abc.txt, touch element.txt, touch xyz.txt. Now let me run the playbook. Ansible playbook minus I hosts, and then where is file? Which one have used this loop, right? Yeah, let's run it. See, the copy module repeated 3 times for every server. So first one ABC, second element, second XYZ. So you will have the files over there in the target. Simple. This is how we use a loop. So before we were using with items. So here, rather than use, we use with items. That is deprecated with the loops. So we need to use the loop here. Okay, so that's why you may see examples here as a with items. So before it was with items. So they replaced it with the loop. Okay, so this is the one, the same thing. With the M, you need to write the different way of mentioning for the loop. So name, installing softwares, M. So you use here a variable called packages. So remember, the variables should be kept within inverted commas and it has 2 curly braces. Then only it identifies it as a variable. Okay. State is going to be present. Oh, sorry. Not name, packages, state present. Here I need to use the vars. You put all the details, whatever you wanted to use. This is how the M module here. Vars, packages, and all the variables. So it's using the packages variable, and then he's adding all the things, httpd, vim, whatever you wanted to install. This is like a loop for the yum. So what happens? This httpd, vim, and python will be installed in this machine. This is the way of loop. So very simple, no much difference. Okay, so now let's jump on to one more stuff. Tags loops are there. Debug. Yeah, we need to discuss something which is variables, but did not discuss about the variables, right? So I'm again installing this Ansible. Let's say installing software. Okay, so hosts all. Here I am going to use become true tasks. Okay, so now see, if you observe carefully, so what this task is doing, this task is just installing httpd, right? So if I want to install another software, so what I need to do, I just need to do the same thing, right? I just have to copy this and paste it here and change the software section. Only 2 places, right? So if you want to do one more, I just need to change it here. right? So the task is same, but only this value is changing, right? So what if we variabilize that value so that we don't need to write multiple tasks? So we can reuse one YAML book or one task to do the multiple stuff. So to do that, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to variabilize this. So whatever I'm installing, I remove this. Okay. First task, I'm going to remove this. I use a variable called package. And here as well, quotation, two braces, package this. So we need to put this in a quotation, right? Yeah. So now what happens? Package becomes a variable, right? So I can pass this variable during the runtime. So I copy this task now. Okay. var.yaml. I saved it. Okay. I'm running this. So now let me run this Ansible playbook -i hosts var.yaml file. It throw the error because we did not pass the variable. So it says undefined variable. So we are using the variable, but we haven't passed it. So let's mention that. So where do we mention it? We need to mention here, var section. So which variable we have taken? Package. What is the value of this? Initial value you need to provide. So I'm going to provide value as HTTPD. So if I run this will perform the HTTPD for. Yeah, Ubuntu is failing. So let's skip the Ubuntu one. What? Web servers.
Which web servers?
Yeah. Step. So if I want to install different software, I can simply come here and edit this variable. Bim, that's it. See,
Lokesh,
installing Vim
so
software.
so if you want to install one or more packages like you use HTTP and Vim, right? At a time we can use 2 or 3 in the
Yeah,
same.
you have to write
We can
the
put same
loop.
line.
Yeah, you have to write the multiple, the different use case. So I've shown you, right? So this use case you need to follow for the multiple ones.
Okay.
This
So
one.
you should not use like comma and you should not use in same line.
No, no,
All right. Okay.
no. Okay, so now again, so if you, yeah,
Yeah, is there any way that we can provide the package name as a parameter within the code, like Ansible Playbook iHost?
yes, yes, I was going to do the same thing.
Oh,
So now, so we have to do edit every time, right? This package Vim every time. So rather than that, so you can also pass as a parameter with -e. -e is a extra var. So you can use -e or -- extra underscore vars. This will also works. But rather than writing big one, we just do small e. So what is the variable? Package. So replace the package with what value? Whatever you want to provide. I wanted to say Python. Let's say Python. Okay. Now I run it. So it says installing Python software now. So Python already there. So but this guide failed. So no packages Python available. So the RHEL machine doesn't have the Python packages, but AWS has the Python already installed. So now let's do the Python 3. Okay. So they are installing now Python 3 packages. See, both are installed the Python 3 package. I just need to change the extra variable here. If I do Vim here, it will do the Vim. Yeah, the reason why we mention this is So because we always, it is recommended that whenever you take a variable, you assign some default value to it that is safe. The reason behind this, so we mostly run Ansible playbooks in automation, right? So the Jenkins may be triggering or some other process may be triggering this. So when you are triggering this, it should not fail and it should not ask interactively. That is the reason we always put some default value. Even though you don't pass any variables during the runtime, it will take the default ones and finish the task. So if you want to do a separate one, then you can anyway pass as an extra variable minus e. So minus e will become the top priority. There are various ways you can mention the variables. So you can also mention the variable here as well. So where package will be what you can say HTTPT. Okay. So now what happens? So you are defining default as Vim, but this task, this task has a variable called HTTPT. So this will be considered. But if you pass minus e parameter, then these two will be overwritten and whatever you pass will be considered. There are 16 plus places where you can mention the Ansible variables. And the minus e will have the top priority over all the variables.
So
Okay, so
basically, like providing package first package variable name is like instantiating the variable.
uh, yeah, this is like initiating the variables. This is
Yeah,
like we're assigning the value. We don't
yeah,
need
like
to initiate the variable. In Python, you don't need to initiate the variable. You just use directly.
no, like in basic programming. Something.
Yeah. So that's about your variable section. So the same thing, I think I have it here. Yeah. Now again, you can also use variable files, the way we have seen with the test, right? So we have the tests here, right? Okay. So we have a Debian YAML file and Debian Red Hat file. We have used it here, right? So now what we can do. So now I am going to do the main. Okay. So now you have it here. So you can also include vars. That is called the include vars, I think. So if I go to the Red Hat YAML file, so you can use, maybe this makes you guys confused. So let me write a separate one otherwise. Okay. So now you have tasks. So let's suppose I'll create one more directory, make directory. Vars vim main.yaml file. I'll write it here. For example, host become all, become true, tasks. Installing. I'm just identifying which way I can use this. Include roles, include roles. Yeah, let me see. Let me try with the same example here. It makes probably easy. So import task this and include Vars, Red Hat. YAML file. Debian. So what I'm doing, right? So we are just loading only import task here, right? I'm adding one more called include Vars. One second, one second. Rajam jara gear Rajam jara. क्या बे अम्मा कड़िया. Rajam. Hey, Kunduga. कैसा था this? Stop कर लेगा video. So now we have this Red Hat Vars and the Debian's Vars, right? So I'm taking these here. So whenever this Ansible OS family becomes true, I'm going to take a new file called Red Hat Vars. I'm going to keep all the required variables in this file. So whenever this file is called, so this variable file will be supplied. When this file is called, and this variable file will be supplied. Okay, so I have this here. So rather than I'm doing this, okay, I'm replacing this with the package, right? So I am just taking only one. I don't want to do multiple. So I replace this with here package, right? And here also package. And for Apache here, same package. Package. See, so what I'm doing here now, this I'll close this. So in this Red Hat file, I'm using a variable called package here, starting the package, right? In the Debian file. So what I'm doing here is installing package, and package. So this package variable changes based on the OS family. So for the Debian, the package variable becomes Apache 2, whereas Red Hat, this package variable becomes HTTPD. So now I am going to take one more file that is a variable. I'm going to mention this. Okay. So what I'm going to mention is package colon HTTPD. In the Red Hat section, in the Ubuntu, I'm going to use Apache 2. Okay. Now let's use this. When I say probably you'll see in action. So the installing, this is the main one. I'm going to copy this. So the main section, right? So main.yaml file. I have copied this, right? Save this, and then Red Hat.yaml file. In the Red Hat, I'm going to use this. Save this, and then Ubuntu one. Ubuntu, right? I've used. Sorry, Debian, not Ubuntu. Debian.yaml file. So I have these three files. So now I need to create the variables. So which variable file I have used? So for the Red Hat, I used this file name. So I'm going to create this file. Okay, the package, the variable, this is how you mention. Package is equal to HTTPD. This is the way of variable mentioning. Okay, now I need to create one more for the Debian vars. I'm going to copy this variable file name, vim Debian var file name, and it is going to be Apache 2. Clear? So now what I have done, I have taken the main file. So main file will be called first. So whenever this condition becomes true, it will import the task and also include these vars. Red Hat vars. So Red Hat vars has the variable file as the package as HTTPD. Now again, Ubuntu will call this file and include these vars. So when include these vars, the Debian var file has the package as Apache 2. And I'm using the package variable in both sides. So you can use multiple variables based on your thing. Okay. So now I have this here, right? So I'm copying the index HTML. I'm not using the template, it seems. It's just a copy. I'm just going to use the index HTML. Maybe I'll just copy it from the previous one. Test index HTML2 here, index.html. Okay, I have it. Now let me run it. Ansible playbook. I have host file in previous directory. I go back and hosts and then main.yaml file. And let's see what happens. Oops. Importing Red Hat tasks. It looks like include var is not taking. Vim main dot. Include vars is not working here. Let me just Google a little bit. Include vars based on condition. Yeah, this is the include vars. Okay, I need to separate that. Include vars Red Hat. Now I'm going to do the same. Now let's give it a try and then I'll explain you. Yeah. You see? So now first thing what happened. So first it is going to include the vars if the family is Red Hat. So Red Hat.vars has a package as what? HTTPD. So this will be replaced in your file here. Now when you run the Debian, so this package will be replaced with Apache 2. Okay, that's what we are doing it here. Clear? So we have done nothing. So whatever variables we have, since the variable name is same, but the values are different. So what we have done here is, so we have taken them in a two different tasks. So whenever the Ansible OS family is Red Hat, then import these vars. So whatever variables you have, packages, HTTPD will be imported, and the same variable will be used here. So when the target family is Debian, then load these variables. So these variable packages has Apache 2. So Apache 2 will be installed here in that package section. So we have just taken two different variable files, two different task files. So we are loading variables and the task when the Red Hat family, and we are loading Debian variables and Debian task when target belongs to Debian's family. That's it. So this is how we structured it. Any doubts on this?
No.
No? So clear, right? Just to virtually understand, we have two different variables, two different task files. We are calling them based on the OS family. If it is Red Hat, these two will be called. If it is Debian, these two will be called. So that the task file will not fail because we have passed the variable value coming from this section, this file. Okay. So that's what you are include vars and import vars. Now let's check what else we have here. Debug we have seen. Oh, this is EC2. So remember, this is your EC2. So you can also create your EC2 machine by using Ansible. Not EC2 machine, you can do anything with the EC2. I mean AWS. We can create the roles, we can assign the roles, we can create the groups, we can create the policies, we can create the S3, you can copy the file in S3, you can create the database, you can do anything because Ansible has all the modules available for AWS and other type of clouds as well, like Azure or some Google and all. So we have some time. Yeah, I think we don't have a time. We'll do one thing. So tomorrow, whatever we have, so I'll give you one EC2 example how we can use the EC2 module in Ansible, because in case the company that you join, if they are using AWS and they are using Ansible to automate the infrastructure creation or destroy, then probably you can use this. I'll give you the guidance on how to use that. We generally don't use the Ansible for the infrastructure setup. We use Terraform or the CloudFormation templates. But Ansible can also provide the way of doing it. And then after that, I'm going to cover, these are all the same conditions, where's, yeah. So I'm going to discuss on the roles. How are we going to create the roles and all, okay? So that is important, the roles. And then we discuss on the vault as well tomorrow. The role is nothing but whatever we have done. So we have a task file, we have a variable file, and we have a handlers, right? So everything is kept in one folder or in one file. In the role, we are just going to separate all of them in different folders so that Ansible can easily read and identify which file is where and what to do, what not to do. That is a role. And then vault. So in case if you have some secrets that you need to hide, then we can use the Ansible vault for the secrets. Okay, so that we'll discuss tomorrow. So any doubts on so far class that we have covered? Any doubts? No. Okay, so just do practice. Do practice. So let me know in case if you get some doubts. I'll help to clarify it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll meet tomorrow, guys. Same time.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.